Good morning. I'm going to call the March 12, 2024 Clay County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. And first item we have is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do want to, as part of our consent agenda, we have a donation from Johnson Auto Repair to support the Clay County Sheriff's K-9 program. Want to extend our appreciation to their generosity in helping Clay County with the program. Next, we have citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens here who want to address any issue that's on the agenda or that's not on the agenda? Steve, do we have any online?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Next is approval of bills and vouchers.
Make a motion to approve the payment of bills and vouchers.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed? And we need approval of the minutes for February 27th, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Right, next we have a request approval to deposit appraised values for the Fargo Moorhead area diversion project acquisition. I believe we have Eric Dodd and Katie Schmidt here. Good morning.
Morning. I believe there is a brief memo in your packet. I'll cover a few points on that, and Katie might have some additional details to share with you as well. As you're aware, the FM diversion project is moving forward. Construction is ongoing, a lot of progress being made. The Moorhead Clay County JPA is working to buy property rights in Minnesota. If you recall, last fall, we came forward to the MCC JPA and then to this group asking for authorization to begin an eminent domain process, which was really driven by the timeline of construction in Minnesota. The Corps maintains their schedule with design of those features in Minnesota and plans to award construction contracts here later this spring. With that being said, we have had some success in securing property rights in Minnesota, but there are a number of eminent domain cases that are ongoing. And the next step in those eminent domain cases is what they call a necessity trial. In Minnesota, there's a two-step process for securing property rights through eminent domain. The first is this necessity trial. The first round of those necessity trials happened to be late March. There's two trials that are related to eminent domain cases related to Clay County. In the memo, you'll notice, you'll notice two different tables with the identified properties and the identified appraised values. My understanding is it's common for judges to rule from the bench in a necessity trial, basically demonstrating that the condemning authority has public purpose, necessity to take private property, which is certainly an awesome power that we don't want to take lightly. If the judges rule from the bench, they will likely demand that the condemning authority, Clay County in this case, deposit the appraised values with the court. And then the second step happens sometime later on, and there's an argument about value, but the appraised value is what gets deposited with the court. Those appraised values are shown in the memo, in the tables in the memo, and today we are here asking for authorization to deposit those values with the court. We're doing this ahead of the actual trials in anticipation that we'll receive the judgment we're looking for. I do know there's been some comments and questions. This is a roughly $8 million bill, and so a large dollar amount, and I think we're at the end of the county's fiscal calendar. And so there's been quite a few conversations regarding reimbursement of these funds, The fiscal agent for the Diversion Authority happens to be the city of Fargo. They are prepared to deposit these funds with Clay County in advance of these trials, and so that if we have to make these deposits, Clay County will be reimbursed very promptly. With that, I guess I'll pause if there's more detailed questions. I know Katie has some more details about specific dates and other things if you're interested in that level of detail.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner
Eric, can you help
Kavanaugh.
me? As you talked the process, you talked about two steps, the eminent domain, and what was the second one?
So they're all within the eminent domain process. The first trial is called a necessity trial. And then after we demonstrate that we have public purpose through the necessity trial, then there becomes a commissioner's hearing. So in Minnesota, through a quick take process, the courts identify 3 commissioners, and these are people that have some understanding of real estate values in the area. I think we're anxious to see who gets identified as these 3 commissioners. And once those commissioners are established, then they have the commissioner's hearing, and that's the second part that I was referring to.
Okay. And then any appeals to any values or anything that occurs after these two?
I'm going to defer to my legal counsel on that.
Yes, if there's a question about value, it'll come after those commissioner hearings.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. As I mentioned during my committee reports, I think at our last meeting, the concern on the issue was how long the $8 million would have to be advanced by Clay County. And so it's good to see that we're actually going to get it in maybe a same-day turnaround or before.
Yep, the intent is that the money will be transferred on the 20th of March. The hearings are on the 25th and the 27th.
Yep.
So the county will hold it probably for about a week, and then hopefully we get a favorable order. And then the judge will direct court administration to set up an account, and then the money will be transferred from Clay County to court administration.
But Commissioner Kravinoff, you raised a really good question regarding that second part, because that second part can take considerably longer than the first part. And, so if we hadn't got that reimbursement, we could be sitting out there for months, potentially over a year, before the actual second part. But the first part is the critical piece, because that gives us the rights for the land for what we need it for, right?
Yep, that's the necessity of the project, yep. And then it's just the value that's
And
remaining.
then we just have to deal with the values, so.
Any further questions? Are you guys, anything else you want to present? Okay.
No, sir.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the deposit appraised values for the Fargo Moorhead Area Diversion Project acquisitions in the amount of $8,076,239.
One second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you for coming in today. Next, we have the annual department update from the Facilities Department. We've got Joe Olson, our Facilities Director here. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. Okay. All right, this morning I'm giving my department update for the Clay County Facilities Department. Just want to start off with our mission. Our mission is to operate, maintain, and preserve the physical assets of Clay County. We provide quality service in an efficient and professional manner in order to create and maintain a clean and safe and comfortable environment for all staff, clients, and citizens here at Clay County. Right now with our staff, currently we have one operations supervisor, one administrative assistant, 7 maintenance techs, one variable hour, 7 custodians, 2 permanent part-time, and 12 variable hours, 1 custodian lead and 1 facilities director. So just looking down the road, I don't see in the next year budget cycle asking for any extra staff. I think we're been holding strong and doing well there. You guys had approved a extra maintenance guy a year ago, and I think that's really helped out tremendously. So that is our staff. Recently, we just went through a department title change, so we used to be called Building Maintenance. Now we are called the Facilities Department. So I just wanted to highlight the Facilities Department highlight there, made by Jackie. So she had this done in the last bits of play, and I don't know, we're kind of proud of it. So, and she did a very good job on it. So I just wanted to highlight that. Yeah, I don't know if you could see in the letters there, but one statistic that I thought was good was our maintenance crew had completed 2,000 tickets this year, and that's quite a bit more than usual. So good job to them. So if you look down on the right there, there's a picture of, well, you can see me there, but that's Jenilyn, our custodian lead, and then Betty Hansen, our facilities administrative assistant, and then that's Brian Friedrich. So that is our department. All right, so we have 22 facilities here. So each facility usually has an administrator or a department head that I work directly with. So what we have the law enforcement, landfill, correctional facility, joint highway facility, courthouse, Barnesville shop, family service center, Glendon Highway shop, juvenile center, Felton Highway shop, power plant, Uland Highway shop, resource recovery center, Comstock Highway shop, government center, Georgetown Highway shop. We got that rental house up in the northwest corner here, our storage facility, the new DMV building, and of course we're at the mall too right now, and then future substance abuse and cold storage building at the highway, and then we have our future highway shop in Hawley. So those are the facilities. Just to give a quick update on the Family Service Center, just as you know, it's an enterprise fund. We have a projected revenue of just over 1.2 million there. We get that from charging both non-county nonprofits and county departments. We do that by charging $13.75 a square foot on the first floor and $12.75 a square foot on the second through fifth. So right now we're at 60% of the building is occupied by Clay County. The other 40% is occupied by nonprofit agencies. So right now we're at 100% occupied. I get a lot of calls. The most interest I get now is people wanting 1 or 2 offices. So I don't get calls from nonprofits wanting, you know, a wing or something. So that's kind of that need right now. But as you know, we entered into an agreement with Family Health Care to do an expansion project for them that is now complete. So I gave the building committee a tour there, and so if the rest of you would like to see that at some point, let me know. But that is complete. I do plan on coming in the next couple of weeks to present the long-term lease, and then have Family Health Care staff give a presentation of what this is and what their program is. So just introduced to the building committee a 10-year long-term plan. Really, we're just starting to talk about it, but no, sorry, I skipped on you. We're starting to talk about it, and I think that's one of our priorities in the next 10 years is to get a solid plan there. And we put out a survey to county departments just to understand their space needs. That been working with building committee on that as well. So MCIT claims was looking great until last Wednesday. VSO, we ended up having some issues there, and there was a leak that flooded their area. So we're currently dealing with that now, and they are up on the 3rd floor here for the next 6 weeks. So that is the Family Service Center. You guys can stop me too for questions if you have any. All right, so just want to take a couple minutes to go over this one. If you can see, I don't know if you can see the numbers real well there, but I just wanted to give you a list of our fleets and just kind of analyze what we are projecting for the next. Right now, we're about a year and a half into our fleet program, and I wanted to show you this spreadsheet to show you what our options would be at the end of year 3 and the end of year 4. We have 2 different vehicles within these. One's a Traverse and one's a Trailblazer. And what we are projecting right now is if you were to look at like number 1 there, it's a Traverse. It's got a resale value of $25,000 at the end of year 3, if assuming we average 10,000 miles per year. And if you look at that in year 4, if we were to hold it, it'd be worth $22,000. So right now we make a monthly payment of $630, and we make an annual payment of $75.60. So if you see, I have on the right columns there with the orange, we have a total cost over 3 years of $22,600. That's how much we would have paid over the course of 3 years. If we do hold it, we would have paid $30,240 over the course of 4 years. So if we go back and we sell in year 1 or in year 3 and we make $25,000 off that Traverse, it's showing that we're actually going to make $773 per year on that. And that's just to stress that that's not the norm. We just happen to get in some good deals with these Traverses, and assuming that they stay under 10,000, that's what that's looking like. But more of the norm is if you look at the Trailblazers there, at the end of year 3, they're worth $15,000, and then at the end of year 4, they're worth $12,000. We make $550 payment a month and $6,600 for an annual lease, and then so then at the end of 3 years, we would have paid $19,800, and if we hold it, it's $26,400. So if we go back and we sell in year 3 at $15,000, then we come out roughly about $1,600 a year to drive that Traverse. So it's not on here, but just if you were to divide that by 12, that's roughly $133 a month to drive that. So I just wanted to kind of show you that what we're looking at. Obviously, you could see you save money by selling in year 3, and if you look on the very far right column there, we sold 16 vehicles for $162,947. So that's what we sold a year and a half ago, and that's that. So we're definitely wanting to look more into this and stuff. So
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Kevin.
So Joe, I'm just curious, it might be helpful if we could actually have a column in there that shows at the time that we enter the lease, what would the purchase price of the vehicle had been?
Okay, yep.
You know, because you can take your 3-year lease value and then your return value at the end of a period, and you can add those together and you can compare them to what your purchase price would have been.
Yes, I can do that.
Because I think we still need to, at some point in time, compare this to what had happened if we would have bought these.
Yes.
As opposed to the lease.
Yes, and actually, I think you've asked for this additional before to
Yeah,
try
you
to.
sent- and I thank you for the email too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly, and that actually makes sense. I can do that. I've tried to go back over the years and try to pull what we were paying over the years, but anyways, yeah, no, I can certainly do that. The other thing too that reminds me that, you know, how we make the money off this is we lease, or if we were to buy, we at government rate, and then we turn around and we sell. If we sold in year 3 or 4, we sell at a market value. So that's how we're able to kind of gain a little bit of cost savings there anyway. So, but yes, I could certainly add that to this and to see what they were worth at that time. So yeah, but this is all indications show it's been a good deal so far. And yeah, any questions? I know I threw a lot at you there for that.
I know the sheriff was in last week, and he's having difficulty getting vehicles. Are you running in any obstacles?
No, I'm not. I ordered everything at once, and I ordered them ahead of time, so everything came at once for me. So I don't have that same function as the sheriff where he needs a car here and there sporadically, where I ordered all the fleet at one shot. So I kind of have that benefit versus I think he's needing certain timelines and stuff too. But I know Tahoes have been difficult to get a hold of. They are on order for him, but they haven't showed up yet. But I haven't had problems with what I've been dealing with. So I did order for our department like a Nissan Rogue that took about 4 months to get. So we are seeing a 4-month lead time here. So is what I see. But Tahoes are different, I think. So.
Yeah, just real quick, on that resale value, like the 25 grand up there or whatever,
Yep.
is that a stated amount that you have at the beginning of the lease? They already know what that,
No, I worked with Enterprise on that to come up with, they projected what it'll be worth in 3 years if it's 10,000 miles per year. So in 3 years, if we have a Trailblazer for $30,000, then that's what it's projected to be worth, so.
Okay.
So, and the other thing we're doing now is we're actually rotating cars around because there are a couple that are higher. And so we're making sure now that they get kind of, we want to be able to, at the end of year 3, give cycle a fleet through that's more at that 30 to 40,000 miles rather than to have a, 20,000 miles, 1,000 versus 70,000. Because we want to keep those maintenance costs down. We don't want to have to pay for any tires or anything like that. So that's our goal. So.
thank you.
Any more questions on?
And I think just to follow up Commissioner Campbell's questions that he had today and previously,
Yeah.
I think this year was the first year that we were able to, Lori was able to adjust the internal service
Yeah.
from, say, a $6,000 internal service down to $2,500.
Yes.
Because of the projections of this, of the lease process.
Yes, yep. Yeah, as far as like departments that are leasing, they instantly drop their auto budgets because they don't pay, and that's the budget that pays if you have to fix something. So they've gotten savings on that as well, so. But again, this is all projections, so I think want to work with the finance committee to keep an eye on this as we go through this, so. And we definitely, I would say, if it's taking four months or so, 6, 7 months before we start into year 3, I'll analyze with Enterprise and start looking at, what is the best option, so. So that is the fleets. All right, so I just wanted to touch a little bit on risk management. It's a new duty of mine. We did pass a new policy in November of 2023. Just to let you know, we've started meeting, MCIT Administrators Group, we call it, just made up of representatives per each department that deal with MCIT. They log in, they have to, deal with claims and all that stuff. It's a great group. I think we've gotten together and really brainstormed and figured out what the problems are and the gaps between the departments. So we establish an annual calendar checklist essentially to make sure everything's covered. We send out a quarterly coverage assessment to departments, basically a list of questions, taking them through to ask, have you bought anything this quarter? And just to remind them and make sure everything is on our MCIT coverage. We also have the safety committee that's within this. We've always had that, but with the safety committee, we came up with a facility safety audit program that's uniform. Every quarter, we send out a safety audit sheet, and it's completed and sent back to me. And then worked with Jackie and Sarah to create a central records keeping. I think we've always had something, but this is a uniform process. I think that's proven to be a good for them. And then at the end of the day, I think our goal is to minimize the risk for Clay County as best we can. Questions on the risk management? All right, capital improvement update. Just to let you know, we recently took out that bond of $3.3 million, just over $3.3 million. It expires in 2029. We had some ARPA funds, $1.2 million to help with some of those projects as well. We are all completed with 32 projects that we did. Rolled out a new preliminary capital plan to the building committee. Very preliminary, still have some work to do with that. But we do know that the bond does expire in 2029, so it is my goal to use Fund 19 and 13 to try to take care of any unanticipated issues or projects we see in the next 7 years. So that is our plan there. And then I think a big deal with the capital improvement plan is to establish that long-term plan for Family Service Center so we can project what projects should happen, so.
Say, Joe, could you maybe share with the board the difference between Fund 19 and 13?
Yep, Fund 19, it's got 181,880 in it. The board puts 150,000 away every year, so that is designed for to do capital projects, but it's also an unanticipated act, like if something happens that we're not planning for, we like to keep that at 100,000 usually for any kind of accidents that do happen or issues. Fund 13 is, I don't know exactly, it gets generated through taxes, but each year, so I don't know the exact amount every year. I think it's roughly 50,000 that goes in, but some years it could be higher or lower. And I think that was designed for carpet and paint, kind of that surface type stuff. So that's what we have in both of those, so.
And both of those are separate line items in your typical building maintenance line item?
They are something that Lori has within her budget. I think it's not like in my facility budget, but Lori does have it, so.
Is that the present amount, or is that at the present amount, the amount that you have now?
Yes, yep, that's current, yep. That's current right now, yes. And we're not quite there yet, but we do have a roof at the highway that is more of a critical need, and I think I might have some options there to in the next 2 years for that, so that would be an example of what we would use Fund 19 for, so. Any more questions on capital? Again, this is all kind of streamlined through the building committee, so. All right, and lastly, just wanted to put some thank yous out there. Our custodial staff, they show up every night. Nobody sees them because they're here at night and they work hard, and I want to thank them. And then Jenilyn is the custodian lead who fills in and makes sure everything's going well for them. And then, of course, Brian and the maintenance crew. And then Betty, definitely want to thank her. She keeps everything in order. If I don't have her, it's not smooth. So I thank you to Betty, and then to the building committee and the county board for your support. Any more questions for me?
Questions for Joe? You and your crew do a great job, and your responsibilities have expanded quite a bit
Yeah.
in the last several years, and you've met them without a hitch. So we're grateful for that, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have Mark Sloan, GIS and Communication Director, going to tell us about the Strive for Excellence Leadership Training Program.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I just had to comment about these custodians. I put a ticket in last week when I was waiting out here. The legs on these chairs were all covered with mud, and somebody's cleaned them all, so it's good work. I mean, that's a nice thing. Anyhow, good morning. I'm here as a representative of the Strive for Excellence Committee. Strive for Excellence Committee does a lot of work trying to make this a better place to work and make sure that our employees are feeling appreciated, and a lot of other activities that we participate in. One of the big things we do every year is our annual retreat. If you remember that, it's usually in April. We get all the department heads and supervisors together, and you folks, and we talk about a topic, and it's usually a pretty good event. This year, when we started talking about what we were going to do for the annual retreat, the more we talked about what direction we thought we should go, we came up with some different ideas. And the reason I'm here today is we're contemplating, or we're suggesting a little different direction for this year to see how it would work. So what we're suggesting is, instead of an annual retreat, we would have, well, first off, we'll have 4 leadership workshops throughout the year, little short ones, like an hour or so long. And we'll bring in some outside speakers, and we'll have people talk, and it's like a little mini thing, but it's a little less time consuming, but we're talking about doing that. One of the things we want to do is we'd like to send 10 individuals to leadership training, which is an online school that they get to enhance their leadership skills, and then we're going to put together some training videos. But probably the biggest reason I wanted to come here was, before we started doing all this stuff differently than we have done, I thought I should probably run it through you folks and make sure that this is an okay direction, what we're thinking of doing here. As far as the National Association of Counties High Performance Leadership Training, there's 3 sessions left this year that our staff can attend. They're in April, August, and September. So when they start, they last for 12 weeks. We would use some of our training money to pay for that cost, and we're inviting, for this year, it'd be all of our existing, basically all our existing department heads and elected folks, whoever is interested in attending could just let me know, and we'll start putting together a list if that's acceptable. And then for the leadership workshops we're talking about, if we get the go-ahead, we'll start putting together some folks and try to set up some times and put these little workshops together.
Any questions for Mark?
Not a question, but just a comment. I think it's important that we always have some leaders available. We never know when there's a retirement or transfer, whatever the case may be, you know, so I think we should be ready for that all the time, and
Yes,
really appreciate you doing this program.
thank you.
Commissioner Campbell.
Commissioner Gross, that kind of fits in with the good succession planning. That is always important. But in item number 2 here that you have, you speakers will be brought in to give 1-hour presentations. Local leaders will be asked to present. And then it says future leaders will be encouraged to attend. Are you referring to internal?
Yes.
Okay, that's what.
Exactly. So we'll invite all of our elected folks, all of our existing department heads, and then maybe some other folks that we're trying to nurture. Yeah, exactly.
That's yeah.
Yes.
So I was kind of hoping that we're.
That's the goal. That's really what we're trying to do, is do exactly what you're talking about, is trying to grow some new leaders so we have them in hand when we need them.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity in my career to go to several national command colleges and trainings. It's indispensable, and the earlier you can get people interested in assuming leadership, the better off you are when your leaders retire.
Yes.
And I think we're seeing examples of some of our people stepping forward when we have these openings for director, and it's a lot of thoughtful planning, as this is, to get people in that position. So I feel very strongly that this is a good course to go. Any other comment or questions?
I'm looking for a motion to approve the plan.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the leadership training program recommended by the Strive for Excellence Committee. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I know you're saying this replaces the annual deal that we did.
Right.
What would be wrong with doing both?
We're going to use the money that we would spend on the annual retreat to send to the leadership school.
Okay, and that's going to require most of those funds?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, Justin Sorum's with us, our county engineer, and we ready with the bids?
Yes.
Okay.
So good morning. The first item I have is for a bid opening for a bridge replacement on CASA 14. This is just west of Glendon. So we did receive one bid, but it was not approved. They did complete everything, but they did not push the finish button, so it's not a, I can't accept the bid. So I did talk to State Aid a little bit this morning, just in case this did happen. So it's not an unnormal time to be bidding a bridge project, but there was $100 million approved last legislative session for bridge bonding. So what that means is there was a lot of different projects on the bridge bond approval that didn't have to go through the same environmental process that this project did go through. So I think that just means the amount of bridge work out there is the reason we didn't get a bid. So it's something that I'll contact everybody that did pull plans on, see why they didn't bid. There is a fair amount of, so there's $736,000 of federal funds and $610,000 of bridge bond funds. All of those are obligated, so we're not losing them. So what I'm probably going to do is contact all the bridge contractors and look at bidding this fall.
Any comments? This is unusual.
It's happened once before, that we didn't get a bid on the Glendon Turn Lane project. I just think it's surely based on the amount of bridge projects that are out there right now. And I think it's probably better that we didn't get an extremely high bid, because I think next year will be a lot more competitive, and it's not, the bridge is load posted, but it's not in a state that it's gonna be having to be closed or anything.
Okay.
So the timeline for these funds, I mean, we don't have forever to use them though, right? There's
No,
a period
so-
of time.
Federal Highways authorized the project, which means it can happen this year, it can happen next year. They're not going away.
And so your recommendation then is to move and rebid then in the fall?
I'll come back for approval to advertise sometime this fall. I just think it's based upon, obviously, there's a lot of bridge work out there right now, and if we could have bid this sooner, we would have, but the environmental process on a federal project, we bid it the first day that we possibly could.
Well, this won't be an action item, will it?
Well, Mr. Chair, I just think that because this is on, I would just, I would move that in the fact that there were no qualified bidders for this, this contract, that SP 014-614-001 be moved to fall for bid.
Yep. And I'll come back
Very
for
good.
a request to advertise sometime this summer.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you, Justin. What do you got next?
Second item I have is for approval of the 2024-2025 Township Maintenance Contract Rate. So last week, we met with Highway Committee, and then we also held a Township Officers Meeting at the Highway Department. So the proposed rate for the contract that will run July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025 is $1,040. So this is an increase of $67 from last year, or 6.8%. So I did hand out just kind of the general summary of the contract rate. So how we calculate that is we use actual costs from 2023, and then that is plugged into a 5-year rolling average. So even though the actual costs for 2023 were less than 2022, a much lower number came off of 842, and a number of 1170 was added. So that there was 336 less snow plowing hours in 2023. And I thought the meeting with the townships went really well. There really wasn't any questions asked about the rate itself.
I was just going to comment too, yeah, we did have that meeting on Thursday, and didn't seem like there was any objection to it, you know, and it's a good discussion on those no winter contract mileage there, where we discussed sometimes they're better off not doing that winter mileage and just putting them on the.
Yeah, on the, hourly rate versus full maintenance.
Yeah.
Just because of the, we do adopt FEMA rates because it makes it a lot easier during flood events. So the motor grader went from $100 to $164. So if a township has an hourly road that we only blade when they ask, that will get significantly more expensive. So we discussed that and had good discussion with a few different people after the meeting kind of regarding that.
Did it look like any of them were switching, or did they make up their mind yet?
They haven't made up their mind yet. We'll find out when we send the actual contracts out.
Okay, very good. I'd make a motion to approve this contract.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay.
And then the final item I have for approval is the approval to advertise for yearly supply bids. So this includes gravel, bituminous, culverts, and construction equipment rental. So the bids would be opened April 25th at the Highway Department and then brought forward for approval at the May 7th board meeting. So this covers our annual graveling contract, and then we also get bids from different contractors if we ever need their services for like a backhoe during a flood event, or if we need to go buy asphalt from a contractor, it just gives us a set price that we can just go do that.
Any
Make a
questions?
motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have interviews and appointments or reappointments to the Wild Rice Watershed District Board of Managers. Got three individuals, if you want to come forward and have a seat. Going to be Dwayne Erickson, Russ Colson, and Matt Morgan.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, Dwayne.
Morning.
Matt?
Okay, I think what we're going to do is I got four questions we're going to ask each of you. If you would just introduce yourselves here at the start, starting with you, sir.
Dwayne Erickson, I'm from Ulen and lived there all my life.
I'm Russ Colson. I live in Farmstead, just actually south of Ulen.
Okay.
Matt Borgen, live out by Georgetown, Minnesota on our farm.
Okay. What I'm going to do is ask you questions, and we'll just go down. I'll start with a different guy with each question, so everybody gets a chance to be the first guy, and everybody gets a chance to be the last guy. But first question we have is, what experience would you bring to the Board of Managers of the Wild Rice Watershed District? Now start with Mr. Erickson.
I've been your appointee for probably 12 years, I guess. I've got that experience, and I've farmed in the community, and I love what I do. And I don't drink chicken anymore, but I've got a lot of experience.
Okay, thanks, sir. Mr. Colson.
I guess the expertise I would bring is, I'm a retired geology professor, and so I do have some expertise with watersheds and water and movement of water and that kind of thing. I don't have the experience with this particular project, but I do have an interest in it, living in the Watershed District myself out in the country, where I've lived not my whole life, but for 30 years I've been there. And so those are areas that I think my expertise in understanding complex watershed problems would be of some value, and hopefully my interest would be of value as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, I guess I've done a lot of work with the watershed over my farming career, and I have an interest in water management on our own farm, and so I feel that I guess I bring expertise to mapping and other things of that nature. I understand how water flows and moves, even though I didn't go to really college for it, but I've done it my whole life on our farm, and I have a great interest in it, so I would just, I guess that's what I think I bring to it, and I've lived on the same location since I was born, basically, so I guess that's what I have to say about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Next question we have is, why do you want to be a watershed manager? We'll start with you, Mr. Colson.
So I guess as a new retiree from MSUM, I am looking for an opportunity to continue to serve my community in some way that uses the expertise that I have and keeps me engaged with that community. And also, I do have an interest in watersheds, and living within the watershed, I have an interest in having a voice in that. So I guess my interest in an ongoing contribution to my community and my interest in this particular kind of thing are what bring me to it.
Hey, Mr. Morgan.
I guess I would just like to be a part of the community and maybe start contributing now that my kids are getting older and I have maybe a little more time. And we've done a lot of tiling on our farm, and I guess, I just want to be more of a part of the community and contribute some now that I'm getting older.
And Mr. Erickson.
Well, and I enjoy everybody in the community, whether it be whichever part of the watershed, but being from Becker County and Monoman County and Clearwater County have a different situation, meaning they've got lakes and streams and beautiful recreational area. And that is as important as it is the farming sector. We've got beautiful farm country, and I'd like to see it preserved and the best taken care of for future.
Okay. We'll start with Mr. Borgen. Next question is, what is your philosophy on managing drainage?
Well, I guess my philosophy is that we all know that water goes downhill, but there's different directions that it needs to go to, I guess, keep the soil in place and keep the fields still drained, but to be able to work with other growers down the line or people that live, in the community. And yeah, I guess we want to keep the soil in the fields and the management, but we also need to understand that it's, for us as growers, that we need to control the water, flows. And so, yeah, I guess that's what I'm hearing.
All right. Mr. Erickson.
Well, we do tiling too on our farm, and it's just to keep everything kind of in, erosion at a minimum and keep everything so it's ready for the next generation. It's just an interesting thing, and I enjoy the people.
Okay, Ms. Coulson?
Philosophy, of course, can go in a lot of different directions here. The direction I think of when you say that is, how do you balance different interests? And, certainly I think there is always an interest in balancing the value of the industry and farming and recreational areas for now, but also balancing that with how we preserve it for the future. And as a farm kid from way back, I feel a sense of loss that sometimes we're losing some of the farm family kind of ideas that we've had in the past, and I think that's a value. But certainly we want to maintain the land, we want to prevent the erosion, we want to preserve the ecological and recreational value of these areas, while still doing our best to balance the costs today and the value of the farming today. And so I guess my philosophy would be to look for balance. I do lean towards the idea of making sure we preserve things for our descendants.
Very good. And the last question, we'll start with Mr. Erickson again. Have you had personal experience with watershed boards in the past? If yes, was it generally a positive experience? And how would that experience affect your service as a watershed manager?
It's apparent I've had experience. I've been on the board for 12 years, and it's been a positive experience. I've gotten to know people, a lot more people, whether they be farm owners or agency people or college people. It's just been a delightful mix of people to work with. And that's why I want to continue it. It just keeps me focused and keeps me young. And I'm good. I don't think well, you could ask Mr. Gross. I'm not a rubber stamp person. I usually ask questions, and you would agree with that, I believe. And I'll continue to ask those questions. And I believe in projects, and I don't think I'm too conservative, but I think most projects should have a cost-benefit ratio 1, so they're practical. And I think if my main goal, or what's important to me, I'd like to be the messenger. I'd like to be the messenger for whether you're a city person or a rural person or I want people to know in the community what's going on in the watershed, rather than dump some project on them. I want to communicate with them. And I'm an SWCD guy, meaning, they work well with all farmers. I think farmers would appreciate the SWCD and that, that NRCS also, but the SWCD, whether it be Clay County or Monoman or Becker or Norman, I mean, those are the on-ground or hands-on kind of people that farmers like to work with to come up with good products and work hand in hand with other agencies, including the Watershed. And we have to work with the federal agencies, which gets to be a little more challenging, maybe where I'll probably say more what I think or ask why. But it keeps me young. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Colson, do you want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay. Have you had personal experience with watershed boards in the past? If yes, was it generally a positive experience? And how would that experience affect your service as a watershed manager?
So, short answer, of course, no. I haven't served on a watershed district board before. I have been associated with people involved with water districts in my role in doing research with students and various things that have to do with water chemistry and water quality and water flow in the area. And I, of course, have served on the Clay County Solid Waste Advisory Committee for some 28 years. I think I'm an old timer there, which has some relationship to groundwater flow. I think in terms of how does it affect me, I don't know how it will affect me in the future, but this idea of keeping me young, this is something that appeals to me as a new retiree, so I would certainly hope that I would enjoy it and it would keep me young.
All right. And Mr. Borgen, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I think I've never served on any board, actually, and I've never, served on watershed board, but I have worked with the watershed for many years in our farming area. My dad, I know, has worked with them for many years on the Dalen project and many other projects that I've been around, maybe not the forefront of, but I've been in the background of. And I guess, yeah, I mean, we've been working with the watershed for as long as I can remember, and it's been a big part of our farm, being able to do projects and with them and work together with them. And so, yeah, I guess I'm excited to keep carrying on the ag maybe side of the watershed. But I also understand that we also need to be fair and have all the sides of it and make the right decision or an educated decision on every project, and that there is consequences for everybody on these projects.
All right. Do any of the commissioners have individual questions or a question I'd like to address to all three candidates?
Well, I'd like to make one comment, and that's that serving on boards has never made me younger.
I was going to find out what that secret is.
I do want to, maybe more for the newer commissioners here, but one of these positions that we have on the wild rice is we really make an appointment for Becker County. Typically is kind of what we've done in the past, and I certainly need to give that a lot of weight, and so I guess I'm, and I see we have a letter from Human Resource Director and the Interim Administrator from Becker County. And apparently Becker County is asking us to reappoint Dwayne. So I guess I have to give that a lot of weight in terms of one of the two positions that we have. And so I certainly would lean towards that.
If I may, the Becker County Commissioners, when I visited with them and they asked me, I told them they could probably find someone a lot younger and a lot smarter and they wouldn't hurt my feelings. But here I am. Okay.
I'm going to defer to my more experienced commission members here. This is the first time I've chaired where we have to vote 2 out of 3. Should we and it will require a motion. Should we wait for just motions, or?
Well, I think it's good to have this discussion first. I'm just sharing my opinion. And then also, and boy, I'll tell you what, Matt and Russ, you both answered really well, and I think you both, it's too bad we couldn't have all three of you be on there. One of the, Russ is a long timer, as you said, on the SWAC committee meeting, which I serve on with you. You've been a good asset to have in that group. But one of the, when it comes to this issue, in the Wild Rice Watershed District, to me, it's somewhat different than the Buffalo Red. I don't think the Buffalo Red River Watershed District has the Beech Ridge type deal to the same comparison as the Wild Rice Watershed District. And to me, I think it's kind of it's important to have a balance there geographically speaking. So, in other words, if you have everybody who's up on the top of the Beech Ridge where all the water starts with, making all the decisions for the people down below, and whether you're fair or not, I still think it's important to have that voice, and Russ, in all honesty, that's kind of why between the two of you, I'm leaning more towards Matt in this particular case, but I'm not really sure, and maybe somebody can enlighten me as to what the current makeup is, and do we have representatives in the lower, and we have a hand up there that maybe can help me with that.
Hi, I'm Tara Jensen. I'm the administrator of the Wild Rice Watershed District. So the balance of the board right now is we have 3 appointees that come from Norman County. 2 of them are on the low end of the district, and 1 is from above the Beech Ridge or in the Beech Ridge area. Monoman County has 2 appointees. Monoman County doesn't have any land in the lower end of the district, so both of their appointees are from above the Beech Ridge. And so Clay County really gives the kind of sway to the board on if you appoint
Upper or lower?
both ends or the same end. And right now, your current appointee that is leaving the board is Mark Carlis, and he would be from the lower end, the same end that Mr. Morgan would represent.
Yeah, and again, thank you for that. But I guess personally, like I said, I wish I could do both of you, but I just have a tendency to think that balance is important, and it seems like maybe we would have close to a good fit balance-wise if we maintain somebody in the lower area on that board, and whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting, I guess, and I think it's important that we have a good balance there when it comes to real significant water issues, as I've been involved with a little bit. So I put my 2 cents worth in.
Okay, further comment?
Yeah,
Commissioner Kravinoff.
that's really the one thing well, again, thank you for coming forward first and looking for this appointment. My background with, soil and water for many years. I know Dwayne, obviously, through that and our work we've done together. When it comes to the watershed, I was on the Buffalo Red Board for a couple of years. And I see the necessity that was just spoke about. It's important to me that location is very important because, and the reason it comes up is in so many times when we're doing permits or projects, they have that neighborhood feel and understanding and call it local vibe that of what's necessary, and or if there's real erosion problems, maybe they have some of the land that's affected by it in that area, which brings to me a closer decision to help the board in making one. So Matt, can you tell me the part of your farming is that most, you mentioned Dalen Cooley, which I was very active with, but is your land that you farm in that similar area, or where's most of the land that you farm?
Yeah, I would say we're all, from that Georgetown to Hendrum, Shelley, and then Borup Ada, that's kind of our area where we farm.
Very good.
I would say all of our land would be on the eastern, the western edge
All
of
right, all right,
Watershed.
all right. Well, and our past representative again was a neighbor of yours
Yep.
or nearby or?
Yep, Mark was just over on Highway 9, not too far from, I'm actually further west.
Got it. Okay. Yep. And I appreciate what's being said. I know with Dwayne, that, and the support of the letter by Becker is a huge consideration too, especially in the fact that this used to be a Clay County spot, and then we turned that vote over to Becker. And whenever that was, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was. Right? We used to have.
I don't know that that's exactly,
Yeah, it's the structure of the wild rice, we have multiple watershed districts in Clay County, and the wild rice has a little bit of a different variation, as was mentioned by Tara, is that we're paired up, essentially, we're paired up with another county. And so Norman has 3, but Polk is part of their partner. Monoman has 2, but they're with Clearwater, and then Clay County has 2, but we're with Becker. And there's no requirement that this board appoints a representative from Becker or in the other counties' cases. But this board has taken the position in working with Becker that that's what they've done.
yeah, and just here historically, and working with the Becker County Board, I think the Becker County Board has actually petitioned to try to get that position back, and we've taken the position that, we certainly will consider highly what Becker County gives, and that's exactly why I said what I said today, that we should try to honor what Becker County's request is for one of those positions.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for the clarification there. So this is I'll be honest, it's a very tough decision for me because I see the value of where Matt lives and I see the Becker piece.
If I may, and Becker County Commissioners appreciate your consideration and working with them very much.
I've had several conversations with Barry regarding this over the years, and
Right.
I know that's been an issue, and it's something we want to honor.
I think it's an important thing to, maintain that relationship with Becker County as well, that we try to speak with one voice when it comes to this. So, Commissioner Gross works with them a lot, but.
Yeah. I don't know if we need a motion to approve 2 commissioners today. I would recommend that we honor Becker County's appointment, and Dwayne would be one of our appointments, and I would recommend Matt Borgen for the other appointment.
Okay, we have motion. Is there a second?
Is there only one?
Yeah, they're separate ones, so we would want to have those separated.
Okay.
Right, okay, I'll make a motion with Dwayne for Becker County.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to appoint Matt Borgen for Clay County Representative.
Second.
And we have motion and a second.
I have discussion.
Yeah, and
Russ,
discussion.
this is a tough one for me because knowing you and knowing how good you would be on there, but again, this becomes an issue with me in terms of good geographic representation was still extremely important in watersheds.
I understand being torpedoed. I'm okay with it.
Well, I'd like to weigh in on this. There are a few things I think this board is more aware of than the passion that is involved in watersheds and land holding and farmsteads, and the diversion has made us keenly aware of that. And I respect, as a retired man who came into this position in order to because I wanted to continue to contribute, I respect that and I admire it. And I did 11 years in academia too. And boy, it's nice to get away from some of that. But the thing that I've come away with since I've come on this commission, I joke about it, I didn't know there were ditches out there. I'm from Moorhead, and we don't have them. But the importance of having the representation of the same people you work beside, and people that you know understand what your position is and your needs are. So I think that's what we're grappling with here, is having people that the community itself is familiar with and can rely on. And I appreciate that. But by the same token, I absolutely certain, Mr. Colson, that you're going to continue to contribute with solid waste. That's an imperative thing. But we've got an embarrassment of riches here. In public service, you seldom have 3 people come in for 2 jobs or 2 people come in for 1 job that have the outstanding qualifications all 3 of you have. And please, don't take this as a setback, and look at what else you're interested in and continue to pursue it, because we need your expertise and your energy.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or observations? Okay, we have motion. Go ahead, and all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your service.
Thanks, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and let's take a break now, about 5 minutes. Welcome back. Next on the agenda, we have Jill Murray, the county assessor, with the annual department update for the assessor's office. This is your first time at bat on this. We're very peaceful and friendly, and excited to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning. Like you just commented, I can't believe it's been almost 4 months that I've been here. I began employment with Clay County on November 20th, but actually my appointment as the Clay County assessor wasn't official until February 13th. I realize it's been over 10 years since you had a new county assessor appointed, and it's quite a process that you maybe aren't aware of. So I thought I'd give a brief overview of that. You approved my appointment on October 10th, and I began employment on November 20th, but then the next steps were all in the hands of the Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue does a background check, they do an income tax check, and they checked that my assessor license was valid and appropriate.
Excuse me, would you pull the mic a little bit closer to you?
Okay. I took my oath of office with the auditor's office on November 29th. And then on December 20th, 2 property tax compliance officers conducted an on-site new assessor office review. They audited 13 areas of our work. Then on February 1st, I had a confirmation hearing with the property tax division directors and our compliance officer, and they then recommended to the Commissioner of Revenue to grant a regular appointment. We used to have to drive down to St. Paul for that confirmation hearing, but post-COVID now, they did it virtually, which is very nice. Then Commissioner Paul Marquardt confirmed and signed my appointment on February 13th. So all Minnesota assessors are appointed on the same 4-year term, so I'm technically filling out that 4-year term that will end on December 31st. So in July, you're probably going to get a notification from the Department of Revenue that you would need to reappoint me for a new term starting January 1. So, our mission statement in the Assessor Department is to serve the taxpayers by accurately and equitably valuing and classifying all Clay County property as established by the statutes of the state of Minnesota for real and personal property taxes, doing so in a manner which shows neither partiality nor prejudice. There were some property tax law changes during the 2023 legislative session. Some are now taking effect for the 24 assessment, so I wanted to highlight a few of them. The first tier valuation limit for ag homestead, this increases the first tier limit excluding house, garage, and first acre. Increases it to $3.5 million for assessment year 2024. And after that, 2025, and beyond, the tier limit will continue to be changed annually in the same manner under current law. The Department of Revenue calculates and certifies the first-tier valuation limit annually based on a formula that compares preceding year and the statewide average taxable market value. For the 2023 assessment, taxes payable 2024, the first-tier limit was $2.15 million. This one-year bump in the limit reacts to the rapidly increasing tillable land sales that we had last year. And at that limit, any ag land that's under that limit, that value is at a 0.5 class rate. And then when it's over that limit, it's a 1% class rate. So it can significantly double the tax bill when you don't have homestead under this limit. What? The 0.5 and the 1% tax capacity rate stayed the same. They just changed the value limit. Yep. Another change was an increase to the homestead market value exclusion. This section increases the base homestead market value exclusion from $76,000 to $95,000, and it increases the overall value qualifying for the exclusion from $413,800 to $517,200. And again, this was passed in reaction to rapidly appreciating residential sales and market values. The higher the value of the home, the less homestead exclusion a taxpayer receives. And the history of the exclusion is that this replaced the homestead market value credit back in 2011. And then the other one I was highlighting is we have a Class 4D classification of apartments. This is rent that's based on a tenant income. And what they did was split this into two classes. 4D1 remains the apartments based on income, and then 4D2 created a community land trust rate. They seem to change this often, but last year, the 4D1 had been at a tiered rate. So the first 100,000 was at a 0.75 tax capacity rate, and over the 100K was at 0.25. Now they just made it a blanket 0.25%. And to be eligible for that, the property owners must annually reapply to the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, and then they in turn notify the assessor as to who's eligible to get that tax break. And then the 4D2 Community Land Trust that they created, this allows a unit owned and occupied by a member in good standing of a community land trust to qualify for this classification. And the homeowner also has to apply for homestead and be approved. It makes them eligible for property tax refunds, and the classification rate is a 0.75%. We do have Cass Clay Community Land Trust, and they own parcels in Clay County in the cities of Moorhead and Dilworth. So application will be made by them on 3 to 5 parcels for the 24 assessment, pay 25 taxes, and potentially more going forward. They do have some that they are rehabbing or are bare land holdings that they will be building on. On to our 2024 assessment that we're just completing and getting ready for. So how do we figure out how we should change values? Well, we do a sales ratio study, and we do this along with the Department of Revenue. This current study is using sales from October 1 of 22 to September 30th of 23. So we're always trying to catch up to the market. We verify all sales and only use those that are considered open market. So sales that are like between family or a government entity, those are admitted from the study. We then take our assessor value and divide it by the sales price to get the ratio, and then look at the median ratio of all sales in a certain category, and that must be between 90 and 105%. If not, then we must make local effort, and this can be done during the quintile reviews that we do of parcels or also aggregate adjustments. Any jurisdiction that has 6 or more sales in a category, it's considered its own ratio study. An example of this would be if the city of Ulen has 6 residential sales, then I have to make value adjustments within the city of Ulen residential parcels to get that median between 90 and 105% range. And if I don't do this, then the revenue will step in and give a state board order, and in that case, that percentage increase or decrease is basically slammed on the jurisdiction, and there's no option for appeals. So that's why we as assessors try to do the local effort and make those changes, because even though it might be hard to see huge increases, that at least gives the taxpayers the option for appeal. Just sent our data file to the mailing company. Notice evaluation statements will be mailed approximately March 31st here. They're going to be in the same envelope as the property tax statements. As always, we've done that for years. April and May are then the opportunity for taxpayers to appeal their value if they feel it's incorrect. Taxpayers should contact our assessor office, and we'll review parcel information and the reasons why they feel their value is inaccurate. To further appeal, there's a couple options. If a jurisdiction has a local board of appeal and equalization, taxpayers should then appeal to those local boards, and they're going to be held between April 18th and April 24th. All other jurisdictions that are considered open book, which means that they appeal directly to the assessor, we do have set aside April 22nd for that day, but ultimately, those appeals can be reviewed by the assessor's office until early June. Then the next option for appeal then is County Board of Appeal and Equalization, which will be held Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. on June 18th. So put that on your calendar. I believe it's already on there. After county boards, the 2024 assessment values will be certified and change cannot be made.
Commissioner Campbell, he has a question.
Just before you go to the next slide, if you want to keep going. Okay, so the 6+ sales.
Yeah.
You talked about, for example, you use Ullin as an example. How about a larger community? Is 6 still the standard?
It
So like in the city of Moorhead, 6 sales can,
Yeah, Moorhead's definitely going to always have their own ratio study for residential, commercial, and apartments. But one example is they only had 3 industrial category sales. So even though they had to make some effort, they would not get a state board order if they didn't get their ratio up, because 3 sales isn't really enough data. Also, I didn't talk about that. The areas that don't have a lot of sales, we also get a 5-year report called a small sample report. So then we look at the trends over the past 5 years, and if, say, 2 years are consistently low or consistently high, then we use that as a guideline to change values. But we do separate it into residential, apartment, commercial, industrial, rural vacant land, and ag land.
thank you.
Commissioner Krabnoff.
Excuse me, back to the same slide. In your acceptable ratio range,
Yeah.
the 90 to the 105, is that a sliding, is that for the whole or for each classification? You understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, it's for each, they call it a PT aggregation, so sometimes they'll take use types and combine them, but it's gonna be like all residential. They'll take 4 different types of ag land, because it's land that's over 34.5 acres, bare land, but if it has buildings that are less than 5% of the
I see.
value, then that gets included into it. But it's that range for each of those categories as a whole. So,
And that discretion of, that number, whatever is used, is up to you or our department?
we get reports from the Department of Revenue, but then ultimately we use our own tax computer system to calculate those statistics too. There's the ratio of the 90 to 105, but there's also some other statistical analysis like coefficient of dispersion, price differential to see if we're undervaluing, say, high-valued property or, overvaluing.
Maybe I'm thinking in the way of tax burden, if I may, and just how rapidly ag land went up You know, I mean, crazy.
All based on the sales. and
I
we have to
understand.
Follow it.
But I want to know the latitude then for, you know, that 90 to 105 versus where we, last year was much less. And I know it's only 1 year, a trend, you know, on residential, you know, and how you keep that balance, and commercial for that matter. So I just didn't know where, there are other factors, I understand
there's
that. But just knowing kind of how those ranges work.
Yeah, and that's the median has to be. So you could take 100 sales and look at each individual ratio, strike them, and then it's the median that has
Yep.
to be in that range.
Got it. With you. Thank you.
Sure. And so, let's see here. After county boards, they'll be certified, and that's going to be the values that the 2025 property taxes will be calculated on. And then final option for appeal is to file in Minnesota Tax Court. Quintile areas that we were in for 2024 assessment are Cromwell Township, Flowing Township, Glendon Township, Goose Prairie Township, Highland Grove Township, Spring Prairie Township, the cities of Hawley, and the city of Hitterdall. In addition, this year was different in that we have CAMA. That's our computer-aided mass appraisal. Basically, it's our tax, our software that are cost tables to calculate value. So if you see me or hear me say CAMA a lot, that's what CAMA is. And that had not had a full platform conversion or update since 2008, I believe it was. And so every parcel and every category of how we value was changed and updated this year into a full conversion. So in addition to that, then that was done this past summer. Then I made individual additional aggregate changes to make sure we were within those ratios. You can see, I won't go into detail here. I'll have a more in-depth assessment summary in a week or so. We started in residential category at 93.1% ratio, and we ended at 97.78. We only had 4 sales that have water influence in Park Township. However, it was a significant showing that we were very low, so we did give some increase there. Apartments received an increase, commercial, ag land. This year, as a whole, right now, I do have some data. It's looking like, as a whole, for the county, agricultural land went up 9%. There's going to be some that were a little less, at like 5%, and then we had 2 townships that were significantly more, like a 10 or 15%. But I will have more detail at the township meeting next week on that. And then the most significant is rural vacant land, our woods and meadow pasture got a 30% increase. Our compliance officer was here a couple weeks ago, and we were on the 5-year watch for that. We've been significantly low. I brought it up to 83%, but in this case, they do allow us to reconcile with the borders. And Wilkin and Norman County are going to be in a 1,500 an acre to 1,700 an acre. Becker County is more like a 3,000 per acre, so I increased to 1,800 an acre, and they feel that we won't get any orders based on that because we did show local effort. And, you know, we're always aware of what's happening on the border because people can own land right on the border. Let's see. City of Moorhead, they had less increases. They were 5% residential, 1 to 2% apartment, and 2 to 3% for commercial. And as I said, I will be mailing out to all township officers, to you as commissioners, and also to city council officials, a more detailed assessment summary, and I will be speaking at the township meeting next Monday. Some of our projects, I am working with Lori Johnson. We've, even just since I've started, we've had multiple requests for after-hours Dropbox. And so we're working with Joe and Brian in facilities and finding a way to put a through-the-wall Dropbox that's more secure, because our applications do have some private data on them, as well as it would be tax payments. And it appears we're working on doing this in the front lobby of the government center. I'm also going to review our current website data for properties there and may look at expanding that. We're going to further digitize documents and look at our records retention. And we continue to do our drying out land on our soil module for our CPI conversion, going to from crop equivalency rating to crop productivity index. And then the Lakeshore Guide. This was a revenue requirement stemming from that office review. The intent is to have a written procedure on how we value Lakeshore for uniformity and also for training of staff. And I was told at this time that if I should briefly present my budget wish list items. So I'm submitting a request for pictometry. This is a technology by Eagle View that is both orthogonal and oblique aerial imagery. Currently 78 out of 87 counties use pictometry. It's a product that has multi-department use, and the oblique imagery is an important tool for assessor accuracy, and sometimes it's needed as an alternate review when an on-site review is unsafe conditions for staff. I'm working on looking at options for funding this technology and provide many more details in the coming months. And then when we're all done with appeal season, right away in early May, we will begin the next quintile area. We will be working in Alliance Township, Barnesville Township, Humboldt, Riverton, Scree, Tansum, the city of Dilworth. And we will, as always, send out notification postcards prior to going out. And our staff are always in marked fleet cars, so people know that they are Clay County staff.
Jill, how are those areas determined?
We had the option to do either, you could do a fifth of a township and then rotate it, but Nancy started with doing a whole township or whole jurisdiction. So we have an actual 5-year rotating schedule.
So over a 5-year period, all townships will?
Yep, and cities. So it's just their time. We haven't been there specifically in 5 years.
Thank you.
And so in conclusion, I'd like to thank commissioners, Clay County staff, and especially my assessor staff for welcoming me, and I appreciate everyone's willingness to assist me during the transition. And the Steve and the department heads truly foster a professional and positive workplace, and I'm very happy with my move to Clay County. Any questions?
Questions? Sign of thorough report. We appreciate it and welcome. It's great to hear that you're settling in and happy with working for Clay County. We look forward to many years with you ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up is Janelle Cheney, our annual department update for the Department of Corrections and Probation. How are you today?
Hello, welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being able to come before the board a few times throughout the year. I'll give a brief update today. Well, I'll try to keep it brief, to be honest. But I will be back here on April 9th. I have some news to share. Minnesota Department of Corrections is very appreciative to have this relationship within Clay County and to be able to provide all the supervision within the community. I have been a district supervisor within Clay County for 9 years. and had to make a difficult decision to transition to a different location. Still with the department, but headed north. I'm very, it's just a difficult transition. I'm very committed to Clay County, but I know that it will transition to good hands. The Department of Corrections has hired Dale Arnold. He has worked for Tri-County Community Corrections for several years. He is in a supervisory position there currently. He will transfer or transition to Clay County to cover Clay County as of March 27th. And so I'll come alongside him. I'm not going far. So we'll walk through things together. I'll ensure that he understands the needs of Clay County. I think this is a good opportunity. Whenever change occurs, growth can happen. If there's any needs of the county that should be looked at that time, hopefully they come forward. We do a really good job meeting collaboratively with all the department heads and all the different departments and having ongoing conversations, so there's no doubt that there will be some growth and some changes. So I have arranged to come back on April 9th with him, introduce him, and to go over what is new through the legislative funding in July of 2024. We have created a comprehensive plan that kind of lays out what services are being provided within the community, some of the barriers that we hope to continue to address and work through, and then some goal setting. And so it will kind of lay out the funding from legislature and where those dollars are landing. So I'll get more specific when he is here. Any questions with that so far? Okay. We continue to have two different offices. We have 5 support staff that support us currently. We have 1 vacancy that we are filling. Our 3 contracted county staff are Karen Jenkins, Annette Montplaisir, and Ashley Pizzolatis. In our felony office, we have Chris Gromish and Tasha Haig, and then again, we have that vacancy that we are backfilling. Just to give like a big picture, parole and probation in Clay County completed 2,378 adult tasks related to the court or interstate compact. And sort of what that relates to is pre-sentence investigation reports, pre-plea worksheets, transfer of supervision to other states. We see that happen. As you know, we're law enforcement is very busy on the interstate in the community. We have people traveling through, and sometimes they're not community members. And so we try to complete a plan with them that they can be successful if they need to return to their county of residence, state of residence, those kind of things. And so those tasks all align with that work. Within that, we have 573 related tasks to juvenile work. Again, reports for the court, EJ, extended juvenile jurisdiction reports, certification reports, predispositional reports to the court. We have provided ongoing supervision to 1,037 adults and 81 juveniles within the past year. So kind of a broad picture there. We have seen a rise in public safety, some dangerous mindsets and behaviors coupled with drug abuse and addiction issues. And so the agents are really working hard to manage that within the community. If we break it down, we have 4 enhanced agents. This would be our higher risk individuals to recidivate, some of the more dangerous offenses. That is Brad Burse, Mike Rapp, Almir Yupich, and Matt Verdos. 97 cases that clients that they supervise are non-sex offense clients, and the other 79 are related to sexual criminal offenses within the community. There are different phases. We also have intensive supervised release working in the community, and those are the higher risk, enhanced supervised sex offenders that are typically on, they could be on the GPS, those kind of things, monitored at a higher level. We have seen an increase in sex offenses within Clay County, or those being supervised. I can remember when I started, we had one agent that managed that caseload, and now we have two, and it's unfortunately growing. So hopefully, different programming services, support within the community, we can kind of manage that moving forward. Medium supervision, this is where agents will meet once a month or once every 2 months. They're medium risk to recidivate. We have also 4 agents supervising that caseload, and there are 381 clients. That's Valerie Dorff, Steve Kadri, Cameron Beam, and Jason Marjoram. And then our lower risk population of individuals, we have 151 clients that are low risk to recidivate. We have 1 agent assigned to supervise those. They meet once every 3 months or once every 6 months, depending on the risk assessment tool that we utilize. Those are the individuals that, it could be an isolated situation, or maybe it's a financial situation where there isn't a person victim. Some of those things that it really appears that they'll be able to meet the order of the court, follow through with their conditions, and move forward and not remain in that cycle of the criminal justice system. So we try to utilize our staff where it's most needed with those enhanced supervised release cases or enhanced probation within the community, and then kind of give attention to those lower risks, just making sure that they have the support that they need to do what the court has expected of them. In addition to that, we also have the gross misdemeanor juvenile caseload. We have 222 adults on supervision. These are covered by Randy Hess and Robert Fury. And then we also have a juvenile caseload covered by 2 juvenile agents, Lindsay Turnus and Crystal Jansen. They serve 81 clients, as I kind of noted before. We also have our specialty courts, which I think you've heard from already. We have the Drug and Veterans Court. Our agent, Andrea Livingstone, and the team provides services and support to those participants. I believe they're currently at 18 participants. It's a very well-received, beneficial program for individuals really struggling through addiction, needing that heightened level of support within the community and through their supervision. We've seen a lot of benefit and progress through that. Clay County also has the DV court. This isn't your standard specialty court. It's not assigned specifically to one agent or a specific team, but rather they're scheduled for review hearings. We've seen this to be very, very successful in seeing follow through with individuals that need to do domestic violence programming. Historically, before we had this happening, we had many individuals that would just put it off. It wasn't a priority to them, but knowing that they need to come back into court and report what barriers they've had or why they haven't been able to move forward, we've really seen a lot of success in that area. So we're really appreciative for those review hearings and the court being willing to have those hearings. We do look forward to supporting a DWI court. That's in discussions currently, and I think that will be very beneficial. Our office took over doing a victim impact panel, and it was alarming how many individuals continue to knowingly get behind the wheel when they believe that they're over the limit. One of our panel speakers will ask at the end of her discussion, how many of you believe that you were over the legal limit to drive before you got behind the wheel the evening that you got cited? And unfortunately, 3/4 of the room raised their hand, which was shocking to me. You know, to admit that in a group, let alone make that choice in the moment. So we have a long way to go with DWI offenses in our communities. So that is definitely something that we're looking forward to. We also started a pretrial support program at the request of the judges, the court, and so I think we currently have about 22 active participants in that. We have one agent, Matt Verdos, that oversees that. He will provide reminders of when court hearings are. You know, we deal with a population that may be homeless, maybe, you know, couch hopping, or just inconsistencies, and at times aren't tracking when their next court hearing is. Then they have a warrant issued, things get delayed, those kind of things. So it's kind of nice to have that connection where they can be reminded of court hearings times. They can also receive referral resource information in the interim. He does do some drug testing, those kind of things. So we continue to reevaluate that and improve upon that. We also have the STS program, which hopefully will come in, maybe just do an isolated time frame with that. Andrew Hansen continues to run that. Crew sizes continue to be smaller, but big impact, really trying to meet the needs within the county, staying connected with the county itself, as well as townships, their needs, the different cities, those kind of things, and doing different projects. In doing so, these individuals are learning great skills. There's great conversations occurring about becoming employable. The STS crew leader has picked up job applications, helped them fill out job applications on their lunch, dropping them off a time or two when they stop at a convenience store to get the water or something. You know, the participants are asking if they're hiring, and we've actually had a couple of individuals that are on crew just because of that relationship built within the community while they're on crew, that they've been offered employment within these communities. So it's showing a great benefit, and we're excited to continue that. I think it's a great resource, giving back to the community, and something, you know, I like to have a resource that isn't always punitive, but restorative and educational, and that there's a benefit in doing this work. I've noted that we do, in Clay County, we have the intensive supervised release unit that is the Department of Corrections. They supervise those that are released from prison that come back, return to this community. We have 3 individuals that are assigned specifically to Clay County, and so they continue to meet with those that are of higher risk, or in what we call our challenge incarceration program, where they're released earlier. If they have any violations, then they're returned to the facility to serve out that original sentence. Cognitive programming, we're trying to really improve upon our evidence-based approach, working with individuals towards change behavior. One of the things that we've had a few agents, a couple of the intensive supervised release agents, as well as our traditional agents, train in decision points, and we hope to facilitate that within the community. It is shown to support change behavior with those that attend it and are committed and motivated to make changes in their life. So that is our future goal to implement in the months ahead. As I said, we continue to support a victim impact panel. We do that locally. We have 3 amazing speakers, and I think because of them, it really has shown success. We do assess the same fee that is done across the state. Those fees in turn are utilized for transportation. We give bus tickets to clients. It's helped to incentivize our specialty courts. So it's really keeping the funding local and in turn supporting those that we are supervising. A little bit lately, homelessness. I think Clay County was second on the charts for those that are releasing homeless. We know that we have a homelessness issue within our community. Department of Corrections is partnering with local stakeholders, CAP-LP, really, I would say, getting so much better at understanding what each other is doing and what the needs are and working together to meet the needs of those within the community. The Department of Corrections recently hired a housing coordinator who is based out of Clay County, and that alone has been so beneficial to be able to have that immediate connection and understanding. Working through landlords becoming vendors so that the Department of Corrections can help people those first few months. Or if that isn't available, we've reached out to some of the hotels in the community, and the Department of Corrections would fund that. Again, working with local stakeholders such as CAP-LP. And so that's really been beneficial. The Department of Corrections also has what we call the DOC house. We lease a house within Clay County. It's within Moorhead. And for those releasing homeless, we do look at that as an option, just to ensure that they have a roof over their head, food, so that they can kind of focus on what they need to as far as moving forward and being successful in the community. So that was really exciting when they hired a homeless coordinator or housing coordinator in this community. Office space. The next big goal, major priority, is trying to get our felony office back on campus. We've been talking with Joe Olson with the county. He has been amazing. We've looked at several different options. We continue to see how we can fit all of probation and parole within the first floor of the courthouse with what's available. We're still in the drawing of plans and getting quotes and that kind of stuff, but I'm excited to be back on campus, I think, for the felony office. You know, there's something to be said about rubbing shoulders with the other partners and stakeholders and easy access, and I think for clients not having to, you know, which office do I go to, those kind of things. So definitely a lot of positives with that, and so that is one of our priorities moving forward. Lastly, I just want to say it's been an honor working for and with Clay County. Again, I've served as a district supervisor for 9 years, and just am so blessed and impressed with the support of this board, and always looking to stay apprised of what is going on, meeting the needs. So supportive of every single department, and especially, you know, our department is kind of in a contracted state, but never once felt that there was any disconnect. Always invited to every single table. The collaboration amongst stakeholders is by far top notch, and just so appreciative of the support and staying on the cutting edge, not just doing what's always been done kind of thing, but a great team of department heads always looking to improve and grow. and I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. You're going to be missed. You've done a good job here. You built a great team. It's a well-run organization. Your replacement is fortunate. He's getting something that's up and running and well, but he's got big shoes to fill, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you. I was going to say, I set the bar very low for technology. I feel like I'm the only one that does not have a PowerPoint. I would like to say that's intentional, to leave it to him, but
Give him a chance to shine.
yes, yes. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, if I could just kind of piggyback on what you said, Janelle's just been a huge advocate for Clay County and her department and the clients that they serve. I think that whether it's looking for new ways of doing things, utilizing supervision fees to offset some of the costs for the county, the different specialty courts that she's been in support of, just been a real advocate. And I know as a board, a lot of times we're frustrated with some things that come from the state. And as Janelle mentioned, she's a contracted position, that her position is a state DOC. She's been a huge advocate for us. Not always just rubber stamping things that the state does and standing up for the needs of this area. And so for all those reasons, we're really going to miss her and appreciate, I know she hasn't necessarily appreciated taking on 2 roles over the last few months, but I'm happy that you were able to be here today to get the public appreciation for the work that you've done. So thank you.
Thank you. Very much appreciated. And I will see you on the 9th.
Thanks. All right, next we've got Troy Emerson, Detox Director, and Kathy McKay, Public Health Administrator. Withdrawal Management Detox Facility Staffing Update. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Today we are here to review our staffing plan and discuss what we're doing as we head towards the finish of the new facility and moving over there. The first sheet I think we have is the one labeled positions on the top. We have all the positions of the facility on the left, and then the current number of positions we have listed, which is 49 current employees.
I don't think we've gotten that. Oh, whoa.
There we go.
Very good.
Okay.
We're saving paper. So we have our current positions, what we're looking at, additional positions, so like the RN team supervisor, we're still looking for that nurse supervisor staff for that position. And then on the right, we have the total number of positions we will hopefully be at entering the new facility with a projected start date of when we're going to hire some of these staff. We're going to do it in kind of stages as we go. Just to give a little update of what we've been doing so far, we do have kind of a pipeline going right now. We do have a current variable hour LPN who's going to be taking his RN board, and he's indicated he'll move into a full-time RN position once he takes his board and passes those. We also have another LPN that is variable hour now. She's indicated she's going to go full-time once we're into the new facility. And we do have 3 technicians that are variable hour that we'll be looking to hire for full-time staff. We have some real good variable hour staff that will be able to move into those positions. Since January, we've hired a lot of staff. We've hired 3 variable hour LPNs. We've moved 1 LPN from variable hour to a .6 position part-time. We have also hired 1 LPN full-time. She started yesterday. And we've moved a variable hour tech to full-time. We've also added 6 variable hour technicians and 2 variable hour RNs. So we've been able to staff up as we've been going. I've been managing an Indeed online site, which seems to be the best source for finding nurses. It seems to be that's the one site that they do go to, they look at, so we get a lot of reviews on that. So we've been able to hire staff from that. We're registered with the nursing programs, and we also do meet with the RNs from Concordia, NDSU, and MSU. I do a presentation a couple times a year for that. And a lot of it comes from word of mouth. You know, you hire somebody, they tell their friend they can hire. So that's kind of what we're looking at with positions and hiring. I don't know if there's any questions on that part.
I guess I have one, so maybe you're gonna get to it, but what's the timeline as you bring these people in? You know, you understand what I mean, train them up.
Yep. On the very right-hand side of that, I've got like July 1st.
Okay.
So that's when we're looking at, that's the timeline for trying to hire and bring some of these staff in.
Gotcha. And then you just, in the meantime, everybody's housed over at Service Center?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The goal would be to get enough staff hired and trained, so when we move to the new building, all we have to do is train them on the new building procedures, things
Right.
like that.
Okay.
What's our date of occupancy of that building?
Well, I think the building is projected to be done, I think August 1st is the last date they told us. So I'm thinking, you know, is it feasible to move in by September 1st? You know, transition, move in, get everything set up.
Getting close.
Yep, it's exciting. As far as the budget goes with the benefits, so we've got our current list of salaries and budget and what we're going to be adding for additional staff, and then the total of what we're going to be doing. Our withdrawal management program has been very good. This is really our first year of having a whole year of being able to bill for the MAA and PMAPs. So we've had quite a bit of success. It's been a lot of work getting those contracts set up, but we're starting to see the result of that and the revenue coming in from the withdrawal management. So that, I feel, is going to be our driving force with our withdrawal management detox program. Also, our contract with Southeast has been extremely valuable. They've indicated that as soon as we get more beds, they'll have more clients for us too. So,
Another question. Yeah, just curious about on the withdrawal management side, the full-time doctor, right? Is that correct? Or how?
we have a on-call provider
Okay.
through Sanford.
Okay.
Yep.
So that doctor's on call,
Yep.
right? And then everything then is addressed down to a full-time RN, or is that how it works?
Through the nursing staff. I have a lead RN who kind of will oversee the nurse practice.
Okay.
And then, so say a client comes in and we need something for them, we can call the doctor on call. He can give that nurse an order. She writes the order up and we're able to get whether it's medication or advice, whether we need to send that person in to be seen.
Right.
We have a
We
very
have
good,
RN on staff 24 hours.
we have LPNs on staff 24 hours. We have a lead RN. I have some variable hour RNs. We're hoping to add more RNs as we go.
Okay. Just curious how that was going to work.
Yeah. So when we're in the new facility, in a perfect world, we'll have myself, we'll have an RN supervisor, 2 lead RNs, and then RNs and LPNs to work the floor with the technicians.
Very good.
And the licensed alcohol and drug counselors.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Troy, thank you for giving us this. I just have a couple questions. So on the salaries and benefits, you have the column that shows the current and then what you anticipate for the remainder of 2024, the additional costs. Is that correct? That's the $632,000? I don't have my reading glasses
Yes.
on, these numbers are kind of small, but I'm
Correct.
assuming.
Correct.
So, so if I can go down to the revenues and what, so that you're showing 3 million, and again, I apologize, is it 168,000?
You got it.
In revenue there, how much of that are you anticipating as new revenue for 2024 that you had not, that will happen once the new facility opens?
Yeah, so for 2023, our revenue from the withdrawal management, just to give an example, was 420,000. So we're projecting approximately, 750,000, being kind of conservative for the new facility.
And the other revenue components, did you increase what you're expecting from Southeast Human Services too, because of, you said there'd be additional space for them?
Correct.
So is that 915, is that an increased number than what you'd previously budgeted?
Yes,
It was,
Right.
yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Campbell, was 543, 543,000, a little bit over that. So we did increase that.
Okay. And then, which is good, I see the revenues will offset the new expenditures based on what your forecast is here, but can you tell me what capacity did you use in establishing these revenue numbers? In other words, you have X amount of beds, and to what capacity level are you anticipating these dollar numbers for?
Well, our full capacity will be 32 beds. And like Troy had mentioned, we're hearing that there's so many clients that they could bring over from the North Dakota side. So anticipating that, Southeast has an expectation that they can fill so many beds. In fact, there was some concern that, is that going to be enough eventually? So we anticipate that will, the withdrawal management funding, that's only for Minnesota clients. So any clients that come to us from any of the counties in Minnesota, that's where the withdrawal management funding comes from. That doesn't cover the North Dakota ones, but Southeast will cover all of those.
So maybe just to rephrase my question, so the revenues that you're anticipating, that you're forecasting here, is that based on all 32 beds being at capacity?
Correct.
So if it falls below capacity, then that revenue would fall short?
Correct.
Okay, I guess that's what I'm just curious about.
Yep.
So. And we don't have issues like with, when it comes to capacity issues for this facility, we don't have rules like we do with our correctional facility or regional juvenile center facility for capacity issues, right? We can have the full 32 beds being used at one time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, we
Commissioner
can hold up to
Kravinoff.
32 clients, male, female.
Okay.
Yep.
And then just follow up or an add on, you mentioned North Dakota. So is there any reimbursement that comes from that side? Or how does it come?
So Southeast will pay
that's
for
where the
every North
Southeast-
Dakota client that comes into our facility. Then I believe that they will bill their MA or
North Dakota's.
Yeah.
They do what they do.
On-
but
on their
Ours
end.
comes otherwise through the
Yeah.
state.
Yep. We get paid directly from Southeast.
So, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Kravinoff, Southeast is a branch of the Department of Human Services in North Dakota.
Right.
So the MA dollars flow through that organization. So
Okay.
that's where the funding
Makes
comes
sense.
from.
Thank you.
So what is the daily cost for someone to come into the unit?
We are at $344 a day. If we would, now withdrawal management is, so, yeah, we got to cut in a couple different things here. So withdrawal management is actually $475 a day is what we are allowed to bill for those clients in Minnesota. So that's a higher rate than what the 344 or so that Southeast and other counties would pay. Like if we would get a commitment order client, so if a judge would order somebody to be in our place once we can start them on withdrawal management, but if they're there long enough, we move into our detox program, and then we bill the county directly for that, and that would be the $344 a day.
What makes you feel that once you move into this building, you're gonna be full at 32? Are you turning that many people away now, or?
Well, yeah, I think if we had the right setup right now, we'd be averaging between 16 and 20. Sanford has indicated that they will, they're concerned it might not be enough beds. Southeast has indicated they're going to send more clients. We'll be able to take more commitment holds in our facility. We still have the contract with the VA providing services, and there just isn't any other detox withdrawal management programs within, 4 hours.
Almost sounds like we should have went bigger. I'll forget that.
Maybe.
And it is hard to kind of project that. That's, it would be a good problem to have, but it'll also, be a challenge right from the start if we would open up and have 32 clients right away, but.
Commissioner Campbell.
Was Frank done?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. So the disparity in what we can bill for MA clients in the state of Minnesota versus what we can bill for South, it brings me to the same question that we often have with our regional facility in terms of occupancy and who gets in first.
Yeah.
And so we have members in the Regional Juvenile Center who we commit to availability first in it. And so it seems to me that and again, not taking away from the patient, but where the patient comes from a financial standpoint, our abilities to recoup our costs are better off having Minnesota people in there. Am I correct in that, based on what
You're correct.
So do we have the ability to base our occupancy on, if we have Clay County people who need that facility, do they have priority?
Yep, we can manage that.
Okay.
We have, if, Southeast has been a very good client. We've been able to manage that with the Minnesota clients right now. Haven't been, having to turn down too many clients. But I think that's a very manageable thing, because you're right. We get clients all the way from up by Roseau, down south, Marshall County, we get people from. So being a regional facility with accepting pregnancy clients, that's another big one that people look to us for. So, yeah, you're right. If we can, the withdrawal management will be the future of our program, and being able to fill clients with Minnesota residents. Yeah.
Thank you.
What will the turnover rate be once we go into withdrawal management? How long will the client be in there?
So on average, before we added withdrawal management, the average stay is about 2 days. That can still be the case with withdrawal management. However, as long as they're having symptoms or they're waiting for treatment, things like that, we can keep them in our program. A week is very common, for somebody to stay with us.
Okay.
The length of stays have increased with the withdrawal management program.
I know there's been difficulty with generally law enforcement encounters somebody in need of services, and there's not a bed available. Are we going to be able to meet the needs of the Moorhead and Clay County law enforcement department?
I feel we will. We're managing pretty well right now with these clients, and the setup right now is not very conducive to filling those 16 beds. We average about 12. I feel that if we would have a different facility, we'd be able to easily average 16, 20 clients a day.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair and Commissioners, we We do accommodate those clients that are in the emergency room. The physicians will assess whether they need a higher level of care. Ours is higher level than the Fargo side. We have the nurses, we have the medications, we have the medical oversight. Fargo does not have that level of care. So we get the referrals from the ER, and it's important for us to take those. Otherwise, there's no other place for them to go. So they can be from this area, or they can certainly be from other areas, but they're really good about ensuring that they get to the level of care that they need, and this facility will foster that. And we do prioritize our region because we want to meet the needs of all of the people in our FM area, so that's pretty important. We don't want to have law enforcement have someone that they have and there's no place to take them, and to travel out to another community would be challenging, so.
And I will add, some of those clients that come from our emergency departments, if we wouldn't take them, they'd end up, a lot of them, on the streets, and law enforcement would have to, they'd get involved with those clients if we didn't take them.
Now, one other comment, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I think Commissioner Krabanoff asked about our medical director. It's a contracted requirement. We are required to have a medical director with withdrawal management, also with our Detox license. So we have the 2 licenses. So Sanford has been exceptional to work with, and this physician has been really great. He understands substance use disorders and really has a heart. He's an emergency room doctor, so understands what they're seeing in the emergency room. We're in constant communication with the leadership at Sanford, and they are anticipating that his involvement in moving up in administrative duties will pose a problem to manage our detox and withdrawal management. But they're certainly working with us. That transition hasn't happened yet, but we may be transitioning to another physician. But they're certainly supportive of what we're doing. They're not going to leave us without a physician. We can't operate if we don't have a physician contract. So, but they're really supportive and working with us. So that may change, but for now, this physician is still covering all of our needs.
Just to kind of go through potential sources of entry. So you mentioned emergency rooms. I'm assuming Red River Dispatch, things over that. What about 988 or those type things? I said that wrong. I'm losing the number. Apologize. First Link. So is that work through those groups?
Yep.
When people call in?
Yep, that's another avenue for people. They can access the First Link, get information about accessing our program. Clients can come from a variety of ways. They can come from the emergency department, law enforcement, the courts, voluntary. They can bring themselves. A lot of family members will bring their family in.
And then I'm just curious, we keep mentioning Sanford. What about Essentia?
Yep, Essentia, emergency department will use us also.
Yeah, okay. And those are already common things to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I know there was a question about the RNs. I think Commissioner Krabanoff, we are required to have an RN oversee nurse practice. So we have to have an RN that oversees LPNs and other RNs. So it's going to be imperative for us to get an RN supervisor. Anyone that's doing direct care needs to be supervised by an RN. So that's going to be it's going to be a huge goal to make sure we can recruit a full-time nurse supervisor.
Is that Kathy, is that around the clock, or?
Yeah, they don't have to be on site, but there has to be someone available to cover Nurse Practice Act and make sure they're working within their scope of practice. So LPNs have a certain scope of practice. The RNs have, a higher level. Because I'm an RN, I can oversee some of that as the need, not direct supervision, but oversight of their nurse practice licensing. So we'll make sure we get a nurse supervisor. We have a nurse lead now who can and still can provide that, but there has to be an RN.
Any other questions? Okay. looks like it's going in the right direction. It's an exciting time. We're looking forward to opening this up.
We appreciate the support you guys have given us, and yeah, it's very exciting.
Mr. Chair, if I could, just a note of kudos to Troy. I think that one of the things that we've heard both from our sheriff and obviously challenges that law enforcement has in responding to our growing communities and the calls for services, as that we've seen the increases. One of the things that maybe all board members aren't aware of is that although this is a county program, Moorhead Police Department actually responds to our detox when there's an issue on that floor. And as we're probably aware, Moorhead's been having some challenges as far as staffing and their calls have continued to go up. And one of the things that I received this week was an email from Chief Monroe from Moorhead, just giving kudos to Troy and his staff for their ability to handle the clients that they have there, which has led to fewer calls from Moorhead Police Department, which is greatly appreciated. So I just wanted to bring that forward.
Thank you.
And I can appreciate that. That was always sort of a point of contention, and it still is. And your efforts in that area, I think, I can quite agree with Chief Monroe, are appreciated. They're having some hard times with staffing right now, as a lot of departments are.
Yeah, and we're very thankful for Shannon and his staff for providing us assistance, sometimes in a very timely manner when things are happening, but, yeah.
And Mr. Chair and Commissioners, another kudos was, I was speaking to FM Ambulance, and they're so appreciative of having this facility, because that eliminates so many times that clients have to be brought to the emergency room to just be cleared medically, and coming to our facility. We don't require that because we have nurses that can do the assessment, we have medications, and we have our medical physician. So we don't have to send clients to the emergency room. Less and less need to do that. If something happens where there's a huge need, someone might have a seizure, then we obviously have to send those in. But they really appreciate the fact that there's so much less calls for the ambulance to pick clients up. So that's a good thing as well.
You keep mentioning medication. Who pays for the medication when they come in there? Do we have to get a new prescription for them, or?
It's twofold thing. If the clients come in with their own medication, we would call that doctor at Sanford. He would okay us continuing that medication for the clients. If the clients come in without their medication, depending on that medication, we will fill that short term for them through our provider. So let's say a client comes in and he has a history of seizures and he doesn't have his seizure medication with, we would fill a few days worth of that medication.
Do we pay for the medication then? Is that charged back to the patient?
Sometimes we pay for it. Some of it is billed back to the clients. Commitment holds, we bill back to the clients. Some are co-pays, they have insurance, so we just get them filled through their pharmacy or transfer the pharmacy to our pharmacy.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Gross, we do have to keep stock meds available. So those we have to have in stock. So those would be available to all clients that come in. Those are the withdrawal medications we use, and various others. We have to have over-counter meds like Tylenol, ibuprofen, those kinds of meds. So we have to keep those in stock at all times.
So we have a stock of, say, blood pressure meds. We carry one approved blood pressure med because when clients are detoxing, their blood pressure is normally pretty high.
I was just wondering about whether we have to pay the full price of the medication, or do we get some sort of just a copay on that, or?
Yeah, some of both. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee reports. Start with you, Commissioner Campbell.
Okay. On March 5th, we had a Highway Tracking Committee meeting. And that's where we had gone over the proposed rate increases for townships, which we ultimately then went and met with the township officers. And Justin did a great job in presenting to the township supervisors, and also talked about why the needs for us to establish the FEMA rates for our grader and tandem trucks, which ultimately led to a potential increase for them, especially when it comes to what Commissioner Gross talked about with the hourly rate roads. That, you know, if a township was on an hourly rate road before, now if they maintain 5 hours a year or more, they're better off on the full maintenance contract versus being on that hourly. So it's good information. And he talked about the bid letting for CASA 1 and CASA 26 and the bridge replacement that we had today. Some discussion about, I think the box culverts are coming on March 26th, and then did talk a little bit about transportation days at the Capitol on March 13th, the same day that there's been a pre-construction meeting for the underpass scheduled for that day. I don't know if that's certain yet, but Justin said that he will be going to St. Paul, and that his assistant will stay here for any pre-con meeting on the 11th Street underpass project. On March 7th, we had our Clay County Intergovernmental Committee meeting. Most of it was spent on the recap of the retreat that we had in January. Many accolades went out to the program and the work that's done in DGF schools by Tracy Tolleson in that regard. And we had some discussion about topics for future meetings. And on Thursday, that same day, on the 7th in the afternoon, then we did meet with the township supervisors regarding the annual township cost increase. And as I said, Justin did a great job with that. And on Friday, we had March 8th, we had this was involving the Red River Regional Dispatch. We had a meet and greet for the board members that went on from 11 to noon, where there were 3 candidates that Commissioner Ebinger served on the early committee to bring that number down to 3. And so we had the opportunity to meet each candidate, spent about 20 minutes with each of them, asked them questions, and got a little bit of their background information. And there, by the way, there were 3 excellent candidates there. And then we had an official authority board meeting at 1 o'clock to review those. And at the same, while we were doing the board members were doing those, the screening committee along with the executive committee were also meeting to make a recommendation to the full dispatch board on who should be hired. And so we heard that recommendation at 1 o'clock, and I don't want to steal Commissioner Ebinger's full report. Maybe I'll just let him finish up on it, but ultimately the candidate that was recommended was one that I certainly concurred with, and I had ranked as the top candidate, and I'm glad that we're going to be in good hands moving forward. But so Commissioner Abbott, I'll leave you up to you to finish off who that might have been.
All the good parts. Yeah.
Okay. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Gross.
Tuesday at the Highway Tracking Committee meeting, which Commissioner Campbell covered pretty good. The only thing is that the 11th Street underpass groundbreaking will take place on the 23rd at 10 a.m. So we are involved quite a bit in financial support for that. So if you're interested in attending that, I think this is the Moorhead Armory where they start out at. Again, then on Thursday, the county highway meeting with the township officers went very well with their understanding of the new rates and stuff like that. I also was involved this week with doing some phone calling to get wild rice candidates, and looks like we were successful this morning with that. Friday, Commissioner Campbell and I had the election canvassing that we did, took care of that part of it, and those were my commitments.
Thank you. Commissioner Krabanoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last Tuesday on the 5th, I had my quarterly Clay County Library meeting. Just briefly, financial report. We're paid, the revenues to run this law library come in through completed cases that come through the court. And that can be anywhere from $3,500 plus dollars a month, 35 to 45. Our balance hanging in there is around 60 grand, which is a healthy amount and a good place to be in case we want to do some bigger changes. The library itself is being well used by the community, the public. We also have clinics that are operated, and they're also being well attended. And this gives the opportunity for the public to research law on their own, and then also helps people, maybe they want to defend themselves in some fashion. And it's a way to find resources and be guided how to, from people in lawyers in the field, directions they might use. So it's really going well. Then, as already mentioned by Commissioner Campbell, I was part of the Clay County Intergovernmental Committee meeting. Again, a good recap of our 2024. Long conversation, once again, about the rebel kids and how that child care development into kindergarten is, appears to be a very successful track. It was interesting and fun to hear when we were talking about facilities updates, where Moorhead's at on the downtown mall and all that. And of course, you drive by there these days and you see a bunch of rubble, and there's more going to be coming down here where the Thai Orchid is, or was, and that continuum of that progress downtown. And then certainly with the demolition, the new focus on the new library and the community center. Later that, or right after that meeting, then I had my monthly children's mental health. Well attended. I think we were around 30 members were part of that meeting. Main part of the meeting at this time is, like so many things, it's on development. A survey has been taken. I don't know how many years they've been doing it, but at least over 2 while I've been there. Anyway, doing a survey each spring. A survey goes out to professionals, and another survey goes out to parents. And it's to find out feedback from them. What can we do in the way of, with all our providers, partners, work better together? And then also, are the parents finding their way to getting help, with their children, whether that's through the schools or other providers. So last year when we sent out the survey, I think we had in the neighborhood of 70 responses, and this year we're up over 180. So whatever that message is, whatever we're getting back from them, May will be Mental Health Month, and you'll be hearing from this group, the Children's Mental Health Group, the Adult Mental Health, and then also a little bit from the collaborative. So stay tuned for some of those responses. Then, along that same line, toward the end of the day, I had the Clay County Collaborative. Once again, this is a meeting that typically held bi-monthly. And we have, we're at the beginning of that. We have a current budget. We're working to, there's been a transition from the last coordinator to the new one. and we're making sure our budget is the way we want it to stand out in this shift, and working with the approval of that. And then also we will be having the, applications coming in for the funding of grants from all the partners, or all the members, I should say, as part of the collaborative, which has a lot to do with schools and other programs for mainly the younger age. Friday the 8th, I had a follow-up meeting, or a continuing meeting of the kind of working with the people through, again, staff of children's mental health area. Steve, we had on the PRTF bonding. Rep. Keeler was in attendance in that meeting. Again, a lot of momentum, especially since we've gotten so much support from other counties. It's gaining attention in a big way. We'll certainly continue with our small group meetings and making sure and giving guidance as Representative Keeler needs it, to work it through her committees and also into the Senate. So we'll be having a good update for us when we have our next work group. Hopefully we'll have things in a good order that we can discuss it as a full board. Let's see. Then later that day, I had my adult mental health executive committee. On that one, the main thing there is finding our topics, bringing together our that group's annual report. Again, will be presented here to our board and the work that they're doing it. That board is, we have good discussions. We have more involvement with consumers. Maybe it's easier for the adults to come than parents come to the children's one, but it feels a little different when we're at each of these, or for me, at each of the meetings, but the topics are always on point, and they're doing effective work in communicating with the providers in each area. Then last night, I was at the Buffalo Red Watershed District meeting. We had it was even mentioned we were doing our interviewing here for the Wild Rice Watershed. You know, the importance of that interaction between counties and watershed districts, or I'm sorry, soil and water districts. And we had a very good report from Wilkin County SWCD interim manager, Kim Melton. She gave a soil health report, and incredible programs. These mainly be for cover crops, incentives that they do that. She's kind of a rock star throughout the state in promoting this. They have, she's gotten money through ProGold, through Cargill, General Mills, other entities, and they've supported programs outside of state and federal funding that involves over 10,000 acres of covers in Wilkin County. So kudos to her and that whole group and the work they're doing. We had a few, 3 or 4 permit discussions on drain tile, and then one that maybe this board is aware of. I wasn't so much, but we all see there are certain very vulnerable areas along our county roads, and this one happened to be Ditch County Road 10, which I believe was 130th Avenue North, up in the Cragness area. And how they have a tendency, especially as they get toward the river, a continual sloughing off the road. And it's that whole thing of where's the, you know, it's not always the amount of water going through the ditch, it's what's happening around the ditch. And so we've heard other cases, and they're starting to identify on this road that it may just be all the water that goes through the road itself that then seeps through the ditch, then it pushes it out, and then it bulges out, creates a lot of sediment, and then we have a large amount of sloughing. So, in these problem areas, as they fix them, are costing up to $1,000 a foot for repair. It's a crazy amount. And so there was this discussion with landowners along that road. What are some of the ways we can fix them as time goes on? You know, at maybe in a more maybe there's a way we can experiment, you know, to find answers to these problem areas at a less expense. So it was a good conversation. And then last, I'll just mention they too, like us, here at the county, we're always trying to improve our, you know, have our cybersecurity upgrades intact, and they're also doing the same and buying new programs to prevent that cyber attack. So that's my report.
Thank you. On Thursday the 7th, I virtually attended a WebEx meeting for the ECN Legislative and Governance Committee, Emergency Communication Network. A couple of items that are, I think, of interest. There was a whole lot of business covered, but looking at new legislation that's going before the this current session, there's a funding for mapping schools being referred to the Education Committee by the House. This will permit the whole mapping thing they're working on right now would give more detailed ability to identify within a school where the person is calling. And we're looking at a process by which multi-floor buildings, you'll be able to get the idea of where a caller's coming in from. So that's being worked on. One I think is of real importance to us is House Bill 3735. It's a mental health bill that is trying to get consistent application of Travis's law, where if a call for mental health comes into a 911 center, they have to direct it over to mental health dispatch. This particular bill is put forward by Citizens United Against Police Brutality. Their interest is to make county officials and elected officials civilly liable for not providing this service. They want to be able to sue us and have civil liability attached to it. It has no accompanying Senate bill, but we're watching it closely. The ongoing adventure of the 403 update, which I'm on that committee, which has been sidelined for about 6 months. There's nothing new to report. The RFP process for mediator, which they assured us would take about 60 days 4 months ago, is currently stalled. So more adventures to be seen on that. The following day, on Friday the 8th, as Commissioner Campbell indicated, we had the final interviews for the selection of the Red River Regional Dispatch Center Director. We had 3 good candidates. We started out in mid-December with 14, and there's been a deliberative process to get down to these 3, and all 3 made a really good impression. They came in, they did their presentations to the selection committee. They did their meet and greets with the Board of Authority members, and we finally came down to Amanda Glasso, who's a current assistant director of the facility and has been for the last 9 years. She was a selection of the panel that they put together of their supervisors within a dispatch center, panel of members of the Board of Authority and the selection committee, which is comprised of the executive committee and myself as chair of the Board of Authority, and Mary Sherling as vice chair. Everybody selected Amanda, and this was with some really good competition. So I'm excited for her. She's currently Still, she's a provisional selection. She's the interim director. It will be the first week of April before we get her moved over to the permanent position. But she is a selection. She has accepted it, and we're happy to have her on board. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, I participated in highway tracking. That's been well covered. I would just note a thank you to Ann from the Auditor's Office. She works tirelessly from January 1st to our meeting to get that information done for the Township maintenance agreement. So we appreciate her. That afternoon, we had, last week, we had a web design, redesign update, and we had a little bit of a celebration to I guess, appreciate the success and the hard work that many of the people did at the county to get that redesign completed. We also had a Strive for Excellence meeting, which was covered at the agenda item this morning. Had a department head evaluation that afternoon. We met on the 6th with David Drowns, Tessa from David Drowns and Associates on the market study. Darren will have more information to come on that soon. The 7th, I participated in the intergovernmental committee that has been addressed. Again, Commissioner Krabanoff did mention, just note for our commission, we did, this was the facilities meeting, also included within the intergovernmental retreat, where agencies talked about any potential impacts to future levies for our citizens. After that meeting, I drove to St. Paul and participated the AMC Future meeting. We heard from a presenter, Dr. Ellen Stark, on artificial intelligence, and from NACO on artificial intelligence. And NACO and AMC are working on how AI can impact the government work. We also talked about the mental health treatment capacity in Minnesota. We talked about this board's vision of a PRTF in Clay County serving the needs of our region. We also had a number of other member counties speak up in support of that. Also, if you do a Google search, you'll see in many of those 18 counties, there's different news stories supporting that. Thursday evening, we heard from the mayor of Duluth, Roger Reinert, and his leadership journey. And then the following day, we talked about some of the changes that are being brought about by the Minnesota Association of County Social Workers. And then we did finally hear from a legislative update from Matt Hilgart. You guys did receive an email yesterday. AMC is going to be providing a legislative update for commissioners and administrators on March 18th. There's a registration there if you could complete that, if you'd like to participate. On the way home that day, I had a number of phone calls. I had a call with Tom Steinolfson, CEO, General Manager of Red River Communications. As you may remember, back in November, this board provided 2 letters of support for 2 border-to-border grants, one in north of Hawley, one south of Moorhead. The Red River Communications did receive notification that they did receive the border grant in rural Hawley, and so they did put a map of that area just as a refresher. And so they're continuing to work to try to bring some additional fiber in the south of the county through other forms. That afternoon, talked with Commissioner Mojo and Rhonda Porter in regards to the PRTF legislation. Talked to Mr. Melton on a series of issues. And just a few other things. Norman County and the city of Felton had previously received notification that they had received congressional directed spending. This past week, with the federal shutdown not happening, they received notification that they are going to be receiving the $1.75 million for the water district and arsenic mitigation. Joe mentioned it earlier, but and it's on our webpage. The Veteran Service Office has moved from the Family Service Center to the 3rd floor here at the courthouse for the foreseeable future, at least 6 weeks, while their area gets redone. Just of note, before we meet again as a board, next Monday, is the Township officers meeting at the Dilworth Community Center. our last meeting, I believe, at the Dilworth Community Center. And then lastly, I sent out an email to the commission. We're looking to start the hiring process for our social service interviews. I gave some potential dates and just some of the feedback that I received from you. It looks like it'll be challenging to get 4 hours together on Wednesday and Thursday. And looking at your guys' availability, potentially 9 a.m., starting at 9 a.m. on Friday, the 22nd. Okay. 9 a.m., 9 to 1, probably. Okay. All right. Thank you guys very much. I'll get Outlook invites there and have HR work with our applicants. So, I believe that concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Milton, what do you got for us? Okay. Jackie? Okay, we're adjourned.